I wanted to make this video as a follow-on on videos I made recently. For example, the one I did about the burqa and the other one in which I more or less declared war against hatred, bigotry, intolerance, racism and the likes. It's just that from some of the responses I got from certain people, at least the ones that I would consider, worthy of being taken seriously, I do think that some people don't quite understand what my position is in this matter. Some people do seem to think that I am a proponent of the liberal laissez-faire sort of idea of tolerance, which I'm not. And I think that is where a lot of misunderstandings could be cleared up. For example, I proposed in my burqa video that we should allow people who really want to do so to wear the burqa. What we should put in place is protection for those people who don't want to wear it and who are at threat of coercion, threat of violence, who are actually facing domestic violence. And I don't think people quite understood what I meant by both sides of that argument. First of all, I do not mean to say that somebody should be able to go about and refuse to identify themselves, even in situations where identification is required. I have no problem with an officer of the police requesting identification and anybody, even a burqa wearing woman, having to comply with that request. I have no problem with premises refusing entry to people who cannot be identified. I don't have problems with people saying, if you are coming in wearing a helmet, your helmet needs to be removed. If you are coming in wearing a Stetson hat and very dark sunglasses, those need to be removed. If you come in wearing a Halloween gorilla costume, you need to take the head off. And if you come in wearing a burqa, well, I am not opposed to being sensitive to religious sensibilities, but creative solutions can be found, even if it is only to the extent that a woman wearing a burqa entering such premises should lift the veil for the purpose of having a photograph taken, so that if something occurs that requires prosecution of such a person, that identification can be made. But that aside, in public, where people should be able to go about their own business in their own way, I see no reason why somebody who really wants to wear a burqa shouldn't be allowed to do so. But conversely, when I say protecting the freedom of those who don't want to wear it, I am very, very serious indeed. What people don't seem to understand is that that means that we cannot tolerate any form of coercion. We cannot tolerate threats of violence. Those are things that are illegal and that need to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, if and when they occur. And that is where I realized that there seems to be a very different approach taken by different people when confronted with something like, for example, the burqa, which is very often an instrument of oppression. Some people think that the solution to such a problem is to attack the freedoms of certain people. I don't agree with that. I do not agree that constraining people, restricting their freedoms, is a solution. The solution, in my opinion, is to defend freedoms and defend them to the full extent of the law. We, even in our Western society, religion completely out of the picture, do not seem to be taking issues such as domestic violence seriously enough. Wife beaters still get away with it way too often. And I'm not talking about Muslims here. I'm talking about any type of wife beater, child abusers. People way too often turn a blind eye to such things. And that is something that needs to change. When I say we need to protect the freedom of those people who do not wish to subject themselves to this sort of pressure, then we have to be serious about that. We have to be serious about protecting people. We have to be serious about prosecuting people who ignore the fact that other people should be free to do as they wish, who think they can beat up their wives or, keep their kids out of our education system. And we should prosecute those people to the full extent of the law. Because, as far as I know, and this country definitely, things such as coercion, violence, threats of violence are all illegal and should incur stiff penalties. But now I want to raise another point. It's how a lot of people demand that those who come to our countries should adapt, should adopt our lifestyle, should integrate, as they call it. But I think what an awful lot of people make a mistake in is the same sort of thing that happened in communist countries, where they mistook the phrase everybody is equal to mean everybody should be identical. We are not asking people who come to our countries to be assimilated. We are not the Borg here, are we? We are a society, we, the Western world, are a society that values individual freedoms. And again, this shows this clear dichotomy between those who would look at a problem and look for solutions that involve the restriction of freedoms of certain people, and those who would look at solutions that involve the vigorous defense of freedom of certain people. We should not demand that people who come to our countries should become like us. That would be foolish. And it would not be fair on those people. It would be a restriction of their freedoms. But here is what we should tell people who come to countries like ours. We should say this to them. You are welcome here. We invite you to come to our places, to our countries, and express your cultural identities. Show us that you are different to us, and let's all celebrate the differences that there are between us. Celebrate the variety that there is in humanity. Celebrate this cultural diversity. But you will accept one thing when you come to our societies, and that's this. You will accept that other people in our societies lead their lives according to their principles, not yours. That is a freedom that we hold dear in our societies and that we will defend. We will defend vigorously. You will not interfere with any other person's freedom to lead their life in a manner that they find appropriate. Nobody, not even people that you consider, according to your cultural background, to be people that you should have a certain level of authority over. In our society, that authority will never be recognized. Every adult person in our society is autonomous and can make their own decisions on their own life. If you try to interfere with another person's freedom to determine how to live their own lives, you will face up to our laws and our legal system, and you will face penalties, financial or jail time. Do not think that you can ever coerce another person to live their life according to your principles. Do not ever threaten anybody, because such things in our society are illegal and you will be prosecuted. That is the message we should send out. Not that we will not tolerate their way of living, not that we will treat them as lesser or pariah type people. No, they are welcome. Everybody who wants to come to our countries should be made welcome here. But they should realize that we and everybody else in our countries will live our lives according to our principles, and that they are in no position to start demanding that we should change the way we do things. And as long as that is understood, there should be no problem. That is what I think true integration is. Not assimilation, not abandoning your own cultural identity, but accepting that you're moving into a place that has a cultural identity that is different to yours. And that's all.